Oh, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today is a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things, there are many things and stuff to talk about, including upcoming videos, things that you can look forward to on Stuff and Things and Stuff and Things Plays. I'm going to talk a little bit about whether or not I have been haunted by the ghost of Captain Black Cherry. Prepared a video for that you'll be seeing soon. I have a good recommendation for some light summer reading right here. And then we will, of course, get into your questions, comments, and feedback in hashtag askstuffandthings. So let's get into it. All right, gang, what can you look forward to on Stuff and Things Plays, and Working, my 3 YouTube channels? Well, coming up on Stuff and Things this Wednesday, we're gonna have an interesting little video about me destroying my gerbils' home. Basically, I'm cleaning their cage out, but I thought it was pretty fun to see what their reaction is to basically, you know, they have a pretty big enclosure, they like to dig down in there, they make their own little house, and I basically have to completely dismantle that, tear their home apart in order to clean their cage. They're pretty clean animals. They're not super dirty. They're not like other rodents, not like rats. And so you don't have to clean their cage as often as you might other rodents, but you do have to do it every once in a while. And so I did a video on that, and you'll be able to see them cold, frightened, huddling, shivering as I'm cleaning out their cage. You might enjoy that. Next, on Stuff and Things, I have just recorded a video on this pipe, this little Peterson pipe, and whether or not the Captain Black Cherry that I was using in this pipe for when I was during the period I was reviewing Captain Black Cherry, how badly it ghosted this pipe and whether or not I was able to get rid of the ghost in this pipe. That'll be coming up. I'm also probably gonna do a video on knife sharpening soon on the channel. I use Japanese water stones to sharpen my knives, and I just thought I'd show you the process that I use. On Working, we have Working episode number 6 coming out this Monday, 6 a.m. Pacific time. And in that video, we're pouring a sizable slab, and there are some interesting goats, lots of fun stuff. I'm trying to incorporate more of the time-lapse footage into the videos so you can see more of the process without it taking up a huge amount of time. Still experimenting with placement of the camera, trying to put it somewhere where I don't have to think about it very much because I can't pay that much attention while I'm working. It's go, go, go most of the time, but where you'll also be able to see most of what I'm doing. Still a work in process, but I think these videos are fun and a lot of people are really enjoying them. So check out Working and the new video that's gonna be posting Monday. And then on Stuff and Things Plays, I think this week on Wednesday, we're gonna have the last Minecraft one for a while. That was gonna be kind of a shorter series. I think it's 12 episodes in total. We will be checking in on that Minecraft world every once in a while, but that's gonna be it for Minecraft for now, and then we're gonna be moving to Tears of the Kingdom every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. This coming week, we have Monday and Friday. This coming week, we have Monday and Friday for Tears of the Kingdom, and then the week after will be Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for Tears of the Kingdom. That game continues to be absolutely amazing. I was recording this last week and came across just some flabbergasting things that are happening in the game as far as the story and stuff. It's so good. So check that out on Stuff and Things Plays. Stuff and Things, where you are now, Working. Check that channel out, subscribe if you haven't already, and then Stuff and Things Plays. So much going on. All right, gang, so this is the pipe that I used for my Captain Black Cherry review. And I just recorded a video in which I was trying to see how bad the ghost was of Captain Black Cherry in this pipe and whether or not it is still lingering, and if so, what I could do to get rid of it. That video is complete, and now let me take a whiff of this pipe. It's mostly gone. Yeah, it's not bad at all. So tune in this Wednesday and you will see how I got rid of the ghost of Captain Black in this pipe. And I have to say, it really wasn't all that hard. It didn't take all that much effort, and now I've got a pipe that I'm pretty satisfied with. I can use it for all the blends that I actually enjoy, and I don't think the Captain Black Cherry is going to ruin my experience with these other blends. So I think that's a pretty fun video. And a lot of people, in the past, I've talked about ghosting pipes and how I didn't really believe in it. Obviously, that's when we're talking about English blends, Virginia blends. If you use a burley blend in your English pipe, then it's going to taste of burley all the time and it's going to ruin your English blends. I don't really buy that very much. I think people are being maybe a little bit too sensitive, but with a really gloopy aromatic like Captain Black Cherry, obviously there is going to be some ghosting and people are really worried about that. Like, oh, you're going to ruin your pipe forever. I don't think you are going to ruin your pipe forever. This was pretty much the worst case scenario where I was only using this pipe for Captain Black Cherry and it was for I think a 2-week period. So basically if you're gonna ghost a pipe, that's the way you're going to ghost it, by just having one blend in one pipe for weeks. And I was able to get rid of that ghost almost completely within, a day. I had to leave it for a while as it was drying out. I was using different things to clean it. But watch that video this Wednesday, and I think for those of you who are nervous about things like that, it might help make you feel a little better. Check it out. So some of you have asked what I've been reading lately. I was talking about, in weeks past, reading the Iliad and the Odyssey. Really enjoyed the Iliad and the Odyssey. If you guys haven't read the Iliad or the Odyssey, you should definitely do it. They're seminal, amazing works of Western literature. I read the, what was his first name? Richmond Lattimore translations of both the Iliad and the Odyssey, and I was just enthralled the entire time. I loved them. But people have been asking me what I'm reading now, and this one is a little more dense. I said light summer reading, but this is kind of anything but. It's a book called The Horse, the Wheel, and Language. The subtitle, How Bronze Age Writers from the Eurasian Steppes Shaped the Modern World. And this is by David W. Anthony. And I've had this book for several years, and I read part of it in the past. I may have even mentioned it on Stuff and Things, but I never finished it for some reason. I just kind of kept dropping off, and I think it is because it is rather dense. It's not a breezy, light read. There is a lot of research that goes into this book, and a lot of descriptions of archaeological sites. But basically, if you are in any way interested in language, and specifically the Indo-European languages, this book is amazing. So I'm not a linguist, and I'm not going to get into this with a lot of depth, but Indo-European is I guess you could call it theoretical mother language, or Proto-Indo-European is the theoretical mother language for almost every language in Europe and some languages in India and the Middle East. So Germanic languages, of which English is one, Dutch, all the Scandinavian languages, German itself, obviously, Italian languages, or not Italian, Latin languages, and by extension, the Romance languages, so French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, the Greek languages. There are extinct languages like Hittite, and then Vedic, Sanskrit, like a ton of languages came from, and this is based on the best research and what scholars have decided, came from this language called Proto-Indo-European. And it's a language that they've been able to reconstruct by using all these daughter languages and finding cognates, and just kind of, it's a fascinating process, and it's explained in this book how they reconstruct this dead language, this theoretical language. And this book deals with the language and also deals with some of the questions around the language, around the people who spoke that language. And when I say language, obviously we're talking about huge expanses of time. We're going all the way back to, 5,000-6,000 BC. And so it's kind of a term of art, because obviously that language was going to be very different in different places at different times, but you get the idea. And basically postulating where the homeland was for the people who spoke this language, what their culture was like. It goes into the domestication of horses. It goes into the spoked chariot, it goes into oxen-drawn wagons, just It's insanely interesting. It's extremely detailed, and in some ways it could be a little bit hard to get through because, like I mentioned, they'll be going into the minutia of certain archaeological digs, most of them in southern Ukraine, southern Russia, the Pontic-Caspian steppe, so the area of the grasslands in Central Europe, kind of in between the Black and Caspian Seas, Crimea, that area, the Dnieper River, the Dnipro River, all that area that we've been hearing about a lot in the news lately because of the war in Ukraine. But it's just absolutely fascinating. It's amazing just thinking, you see all these commonalities between all these different cultures based upon the fact that they all kind of stem from this original group of people who lived in this area thousands of years ago. So I highly recommend this. I'm over halfway through. It looks like I'm only about half, but there's hundreds of pages of notes at the end. So yeah, I'm maybe 2/3 through this book, and I'm definitely going to be finishing it. And I am really, really enjoying this. I've also purchased some Cormac McCarthy books. I wanted to read the Border trilogy, so All the Pretty Horses, The Crossing, and Cities on the Plain. I have never read those. Have I read any of those? I think I might have read All the Pretty Horses years ago, but I'm going to be reading those soon too, so I'll report back on some of those books once I have read them. All right, gang, but now it is time for hashtag #AskStuffandThings. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, tweet at @SATBradley with the hashtag #AskStuffandThings. You can also send me questions via Patreon and go right to the front of the line if you're a Patreon supporter. You can leave a super thanks by hitting the button under this video and go right to the front of the line. Or, did I mention Twitter? Hardly anybody ever uses Twitter now, but you can tweet at @SATBradley with the hashtag #AskStuffandThings, and then you can leave questions, comments, feedback in the comment sections under my YouTube videos. First, we have some feedback for last week's Sunday Stuff and Things. This is from, here we go again, at Eckhart Eric. They say, I'm assuming it's a he because their name is probably Eric, I wish you the best of luck with Blood Red Moon. It tasted like cherry Tootsie Pop to me, and I could not get the taste out of my pipe. So I mentioned that I had procured a tin of Cult Blood Red Moon, and I was going to be reviewing that soon. I like cherry Tootsie Roll Pops, or cherry Tootsie Pop, that's the suckers, right? Yeah, I like those. So if it does taste like that, maybe I'll be pleased. Next, we have a comment from Big Earn Bladesmith. So some of these, the names are the same as they were showing up on my YouTube comments. Some of them are totally different. I do recognize Big Earn Bladesmith. Big Earn says, cool. You got to visit the region of the US where I come from. Southern accents will be wildly different depending where you're at in the South and to whom you are speaking. It doesn't help when I say a person from Arkansas. It doesn't help when, say, a person from Arkansas moves to somewhere else and slightly picks up that place's accent as well. I'll say this for sure. Someone coming from Appalachia doesn't quite sound the same as someone from the Ozarks, and neither sound anything like the aristocratic type Southern accent. Here's something that surprised me when I moved to St. Louis. They actually have a number of people who talk with a Southern type accent too. It's its own dialect. Accents are interesting. So, did you get your hands dirty at the smithy? Tell me that felt the raw happiness. Oh, I'm assuming there's a you that should be in there. Tell me that you felt the raw happiness of moving some steel with a hammer. So, discussing my trip to North Carolina, the smithy was closed. I was not able to go into the smithy, and I doubt they would let me deal with molten metal at the time, but there were a lot of cool like wrought iron crafts and things that they had done in the gift shop. So I definitely like to go back and try it out. Next, from Ashes of the Phoenix, happy belated 4th of July and happy Patriot Month. Yes, that's something I'm starting. I'm starting. Why just celebrate my favorite holiday on one day when we can all have July as Independence Month or Patriot Month? Yeah, I kind of forgot about the whole 4th of July thing. We were traveling. I guess we were traveling the day after the 4th of July. But yeah, we got to see some fireworks and stuff. It was a fun time. Next, from @JCT Manu. I live in Central Virginia and you described our weather perfectly. I was born here and lived here my whole life and I still hate the summer humidity. It oppresses the soul, I'm convinced. I spent a summer in the Pacific Northwest years ago and spent the whole time astonished at how pleasant the weather was. Yeah, the more I experience of the rest of the world, the more I realize that the weather in the Pacific Northwest is perfect. Absolutely perfect. Next, from @Gribbly, Sir, I have followed from afar for years but rarely comment. I live in Asheville, North Carolina, and recognize North Carolina, and recognize the places in your photos story. It's very interesting to hear you describe the experience. I have never seen the Rockies or the Cascades and would like to, but I must say that I enjoy living among habitable mountains. If you think this area is hot, humid, you should try the Deep South. Everyone should experience it once. Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned habitable mountains because the mountains here are definitely not the kind of place where you're going to have, developed suburban houses or things like that. You're not going to have, because basically everything there we were technically in the mountains the whole time, but it was foothills. To me, they were foothills, and then there were some valleys where there might be some farmland, and you're not going to go to Mount Baker or you're not going to go to the Cascade Range and put up a Lowe's and an Ingles grocery store. Like, it's too rugged, it's too wild. I like that. I think those are beautiful and they look cool, but it was beautiful there as well. And yeah, as far as the humidity, from what I was gathering from the locals, apparently it's not always that humid there. I think it was kind of an exceptional time as far as the weather was going. Just lots of humidity and lots of thunderstorms. It was pretty hot too. Next, from @CorbinBourbon, I recognize that name. I really like Blood Red Moon. It's the only aromatic I keep on hand. Very excited. So yeah, again, it's about 50% people saying that Blood Red Moon is great. It's the only aromatic they like, and then 50% saying it's horrible. So we'll see. Then we have some feedback on the Captain Earl's 10 Russians full review. This is from @TomBrown. Bradley, interesting review. Old gym socks. I mentioned that Captain Earl had slightly the scent of sweaty gym clothes, I think from the Orientals in there. When I started essing a pee 50 plus years ago, my first and abiding impression of Perique was that it smelled like my old gym locker. Misty watercolored memories. Anyway, it made my eyes water. Never got that from Orientals, but who's to say? Not a fan of the Cornell and Deal Crumble Cake teas. The only Captain Earl's blend I've essed since they went to Crumble Cake is the private stock. I'd been a fan 20 years ago, and the current cut I found pretty thin and messy. It did, however, get better the longer it was opened. True of a lot of teas. I'll have to get some 10 Russians when the weather cools down. Great show today. Thanks for the feedback, Tom. And yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned Perique smelling like sweaty gym clothes. I don't think I've ever really gotten that from Perique. For me, it's always been the Turkish Orientals that have a bit of that aroma. And not always, not all of them do, but some do. And finally, from @Nosage1978, all I can see now is a Band-Aid that is torn off inside of a dirty gym sock going down into my pipe. It doesn't make me want to try this one. Thanks for the great review as always. And yeah, it's funny when you describe these flavors that sound horrible, Band-Aids, gym socks, they actually are describing a blend that I really enjoyed quite a bit. So there you go. It's not food. It's not the same things. The things that we like in pipe blends are not the same things that we like in food, usually. Thanks for all that feedback, gang. Please keep it coming in. It helps make the show go. But now it is time for the very best part of the show, and that is where I thank our Patreon supporters. Remember, if you would like to support the channels on Patreon, there is a link in the description box below, and it helps so much. Especially now that I have 3 channels going, it really helps to offset some of the cost in time and money that I put into these channels. And every week we like to shout out those who support the channels at $25 or more a month. People like Kirk Crompton, Glenn Dunnington, Jason Buckner, MDoftheNorth, David Gaudreau, Finn O'Hagan, Ryan McFadin, Arcturus, and Ashes of the Phoenix. And of course, the Maniacs, the crazy people who support the channels at $100 a month. People like stolid and dependable Bob Magee. And we will never forget our Hall of Fame member and dearly departed friend, Peter Straub. Gang, thank you so much for watching. Please, if you haven't subscribed to Stuff and Things, you're watching Stuff and Things right now, hit that subscribe button. I think we're at like 47,800 or something like that subs on Stuff and Things, and we want to get up to 50,000. Got a goal to get up to 50,000 by the fall, or maybe by the new year. So let's do that. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to Working, we've got to reach that 1,000 sub goal on Working so I can become a partner on that channel. I think we're hovering around like 725, 726 right now. And I know a lot of you have gone to Working and checked out the videos and haven't subscribed. So definitely do that. There will be a link in the description box below. Check out the destruction of my gerbils home video coming up this week. Check, check, check. And my camera just overheated because it got too hot in this room. It's very hot in this room. As I was saying, check out the pipe video about whether or not this pipe was ghosted by Captain Black Cherry and how I got rid of it. All the other good stuff coming up on all the channels. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. Has been Stuff and Things on a very pleasant Sunday. Stuff and Things. I'll see you later. Is it still recording? Hopefully. It's very hot. Very hot.